All right, ladies and gentlemen, sit down, please. Sit down. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Commander, and I'm going to be briefing you on the SCP that you're assigned to, so pay attention. What we're looking at today, SCP-1687, Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1687 is kept in a locked violin case in secure storage at Site-19. All non-D-Class personnel that interact with it are required to be tone deaf. D-Class assigned to experiments with SCP-1687 should have at least a minimal proficiency at playing stringed classical instruments. Any musical equipment used in conjunction with SCP-1687 or otherwise discovered to be affected by it is to be quarantined and destroyed, with the exception of a single example of each type of musical instrument kept in long-term storage for studies on the longevity of SCP-1687's effects. Description: SCP-1687 is a violin of uncertain provenance and age. At baseline, it appears to be in a state of great disrepair, with chipped F-holes, a partial crack through the neck, and fraying sheet gut strings. When played while in this state, the quality of music is extremely poor, in keeping with the apparent condition of the instrument. However, when played simultaneously with other musical instruments, it repairs itself at a rate directly correlated to the number of other instruments and the duration and quality of the musical performance. Now, the quality of the music it produces improves simultaneously, matching the apparent state of repair of SCP-1687. When used as part of a full operatic orchestra, SCP-1687 was able to improve from baseline to world class within 17 minutes of cumulative playing. Now, several musically inclined D-Class have compared it to a lost Stradivarius. Once SCP-1687 is no longer being played, it begins to rapidly return to its baseline state, taking a maximum of 370 hours to decay from a fully repaired state. Any musical instrument that is played with or in the immediate presence of SCP-1687 loses its musicality. This is defined as having a direct line of sight and being within 9.6 meters of SCP-1687. Any attempts to play instruments so affected will produce sounds that are sonographically identical to music as determined by computer analysis, but that no living organism will recognize as music. Tests using human beings, apes, canines, bees, plants, cicadians all result in no discernible difference between the sound produced by affected instruments and sound produced by a white noise generator. This effect appears localized to the instruments themselves, as test subjects confirmed that they remain able to hear and enjoy music produced by other musical instruments. SCP-1687 was recovered along with numerous affected instruments from the Symphony Orchestra following the publication of the following review. This is excerpted. All right, give me that. Pass it around. It states, if you can read along with me. The Death of Figaro, August 23rd, Richard St. James. Last night, the Symphony Orchestra was the scene of what can only be called musical murder. The debut performance of what has been dubbed the Lost Stradivarius was marred, nay, destroyed, by what was apparently a concerted effort by all the performers to deliver the most banal, mindless backdrop of a musical sound that this reviewer has ever heard. What should have been a hushed, reverential silence among the audience following the violin solo instead became a frightful scene of total loss of decorum as the remainder of the orchestra proceeded to mock all conventions of musical propriety and professionalism by playing, and this reviewer uses that word lightly, a faltering, confusing mess of pure unmusical sound. In shock from this abomination, individuals ranging from stately matrons to young couples began to demand the performers stop their travesty and then rushed to demand a full refund from the theater. Needless to say, this reviewer would have joined them had he not been struck speechless by the total lack of professionalism. It is with great disappointment that this reviewer must declare the season's opening to be a disaster hard to overcome. The only moment of purity came from the Lost Stradivarius itself, as it was played as beautifully as its name suggests. If the orchestra is to recover their reputation after this monumentally awful opening, they will have to make every performance an apology to their abused audience. This reviewer, for one, hopes that the orchestra manages to find their way back from the precipice of irrelevancy that this performance has brought them to. Now, interviews with the violin soloist revealed that SCP-1687 was gifted to him by an anonymous benefactor with a note instructing him to play it well and keep the life of music flowing. Investigation of this unknown person of interest has been assigned to MTF Eta 11 Savage Beasts. Mr. further claimed that SCP-1687 was in pristine condition prior to the performance, which brought it to the Foundation's attention. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was SCP-1687. Dismissed.